Hi, I'm Kyle Bangeter, Service Engineer for Polaris Engineered Accessories. In this video, we're going to walk you through installing a lock and ride tip-out glass windshield on your Polaris General. Always refer to your kit instructions before getting started to make sure you have all the tools and parts required. Let's get to it. At this point, we've opened up our kit. We've made sure that all of our parts are here and we've got our tools ready to go. One thing to note on this install, we do recommend a 3/4 inch drill bit. If you do not have something that big, you can use a smaller bit and file it out afterwards. First, we're going to install the ball fitting into our cab frame. Make sure that the ball fitting is facing inboard, and this will be the same on the driver and passenger side. We'll start off by holding our nut and our wrench here and lining that up on the back side before we begin threading. We've got our windshield sitting face up on our table now, so we have easy access, and we're going to install our hinges. So we can see that our hinge bracket is curved downward. That means it's going to go this direction on our windshield when it's face up. So we'll line that up, put in our pin, and tighten down the nut on the other side. All right, we're going to snug up our nut, but we do not want to over tighten because this hinge still does need to rotate freely without very much resistance. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side. Next, we'll need to drill out the holes in our visor so that we can mount the windshield. To gain access, any unit that has a roof will need to have the roof removed, and then we'll remove our visor panel. The roof will come off with 2 fasteners in the rear center. With our bracket pulled off, we can push up on the rear of the roof to get it to release, and then forward. With our roof off, we can now pull our 4 fasteners to remove our visor. With the fasteners out, the visor will come forward and off the vehicle. With our visor turned over, we're now going to locate the 4 holes to drill. We can see the cutouts here. On both sides, there's 2. In this case, we're going to use a 3/4 inch drill bit. Again, if you don't have one this size, you can always use a smaller bit and clean it up with a file. As we're drilling our holes in our visor, be sure not to drill too deep and let the bit come through too far and contact the front of the visor. Now that we've drilled our holes, we can come back with a file and clean up the holes to match the indentation in the visor. With our front visor drilled out and prepared, we're going to put it back on the cab frame now and install with 4 fasteners. We're now ready to set our windshield in place. Since we need to align our threaded rods here, it'll be easier to have a partner to help get this thing in. Once we're set in, we'll install nuts on the back and tighten those down. Now we're ready to install our locking plate into the dash. We'll want to make sure that the larger portion of the bracket here faces the front of the vehicle. So we'll set that in place and we'll lock our handle in. With the handle in, we'll make sure our bracket is centered left to right. We'll apply light pressure to pull the windshield in, and then we'll mark the center of our 2 rear holes. With those marked, we can open up the windshield and install the shocks next. Next, we're going to install our windshield shocks. When installing, make sure that the larger diameter rod goes towards the top. We'll install by clicking onto the ball fitting. With the bottom installed, we'll open the windshield and line up to install the top. And then we'll repeat this on the other side. Now that we've got our shocks installed and our windshield is held up, we can come back and mark the front 2 holes for our handle mount. So we'll set this in place and align the 2 marks we already made in the rear and make new marks in the front. Now that that's fully marked, we'll come back and we're going to remove our center storage console here. So to do this, we need to apply a little bit of downward pressure on this upper lip and the box will come forward. With the box out, now we can come back and drill our full 4 holes that we've marked. When we're drilling these holes, be careful not to drill too far down and contact anything underneath the dash. Now that we have our holes drilled out, we can install our bracket underneath the dash. We can note that we have weld nuts on the bottom side of this bracket. Make sure those face the bottom of the vehicle. So we'll install that. We'll want to reach further forward and allow this tab to go up above the lip in the dash and then come back. And then we'll line up our holes on top. Set in our handle mount and start our fasteners. Now that we have our 4 fasteners started, we're going to snug all 4 up and test function of the windshield. We're checking to see at this point if we have a good seal and the windshield is snug, but not too tight. If we need to make any adjustments, we can loosen up our 4 fasteners and push this base plate forward or backward to get a different amount of tension on the windshield handle. Once we're done with that process, we'll torque these to spec. With our windshield installed, we're going to put our center storage box back in place. We've got a lip that's going to click in into the dash on the bottom as well as the top. With our windshield fully installed and adjusted, we can also reinstall our roof if our vehicle is so equipped, and that completes the install of our tip-out glass windshield. If you have questions or are looking for more information, check out the Polaris website or your local authorized Polaris dealer.